Hello, Safe Harbor Yogis. It's good to see you all again today. Those of you who have not practiced with me, my name is Jen. I have been practicing yoga for quite some time now and love what I do and love to share it. So I hope it's helpful for you today as well. So what we're going to dive into today is going to have to do with breath and how that breath links with movement to the body. So we will get started right away. So come on down to your chairs if you are in a chair, or if you are on a mat, come down to your back on the mat, please. And we will meet there. So those of you in chairs who are still seated upward, please just pay attention for just one moment. What we will end up doing here, just a few housekeeping things if I have any newbies in the room. Anytime I say to sit away from the back of the chair, we're only going to move up a few inches here just within safety range, that we're not going to tip the chair over by any means. But that's just because we want to use our own posture instead of just the back of the chair. So you'll hear me use that cueing occasionally. Sitting back against the chair is our relaxed pose. So that's simply just putting our feet planted on the ground about hip width distance, and then also sitting back into our seat. So you'll hear that occasionally throughout the class. So just be aware of that. With all of that being said also, let's get into our practice a little. So everyone, go ahead and close your eyes or bring your gaze low to the ground, just so you can keep out any distractions, anything that's outside of yourself that's not meant for you in this moment. Please feel free to let go of any of those thoughts. And like I said, we're going to talk a little bit about breathing today and what breathing has to do with our daily lives and also with our practice of yoga. Okay, so we're going to start with 3 deep breaths. Again, whether you're laying down or seated. We're going to start by breathing in through the nose, and then we're going to exhale through the mouth like we're fogging a window. This might be familiar if anyone has taken a class with me before called lion's breath. So take a deep inhale through the nose. Exhale it through the mouth and sigh. 2 more. Deep inhale. Exhale through the mouth. And 1 more. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Just maybe even taking a quick notice of what that felt like. Just making a mental note. Again, that, hey, ooh, I feel a little dizzy after that, or I feel like I was able to release something. Whatever your feeling is, or if you're just neutral, that's totally cool. Just taking notice to those first few breaths. So one of the biggest things that is helped by breath is anxiety. So I've shared in my past a little bit about my own story as well, but I suffer with anxiety and PTSD. And breathing is some of the only things that actually help when I am having a panic attack, or if I am having anxious moments and I feel myself getting worked up. So breathing can be a huge tool, especially if you are one that suffers from anxiety or even just anxious moments in general. Um, so really learning to control your breath and use your breath to your advantage, not just have it happen because we need it to live, but simply putting it in that different mindset of that our breath is a sacred thing, and also it is there for a reason. We're able to use it not just to fill our lungs and keep ourselves alive, but also to be able to deregulate the nervous system and be able to help calm us down. So ultimately, that's what I'm hoping we can learn a little bit of today on our own. So the first thing that I wanted to share, I had looked into just random quotes for today, and as I normally have something in mind, and I really wanted to go with breathing um, as our objective for the day. So there's no author involved, but they had said take a deep breath and give yourself permission to step back from what is making you feel anxious. So two things. As we lay here with our eyes closed or our gaze at the floor, taking that into mind, giving ourselves permission. So, how many times within a day? And again, this is a rhetorical question more than anything, so just answer to yourselves. But how many times in a day do you think that your mind goes, I give myself permission to do this? Probably not too often, right? That's something that, again, we ask for as children and to our parents or to whomever is watching over us, is if we ask for permission to go somewhere to do something. But how often do you ask your body permission to do something? So honing in on that, being able to give yourself permission to relax, permission to rest, to sleep, to just simply be human and not be stuck in the crazy, hectic world that we're in. That's something that we can give ourselves anytime and holds more meaning than you would think. Because ultimately, you're telling your body, hey, it's okay to calm down. There's no need to be anxious. You have permission to be calm. And then also, from that particular saying, that said, step back from what is making you feel anxious. So, a lot of times it's hard to pinpoint exactly where anxiety is coming from. I've had those moments where you just feel like you're getting worked up and your breathing gets heavier and you're breathing more quickly, you feel anxious, you feel that tingling in your hands and sweat coming and whatever your symptoms of anxiety may be. But what we're doing is we're giving ourselves permission to step back from feeling anxious. So your body is not going to tell you no when you say, hey, can I no longer be anxious? It's going to fight you. It definitely will. You have to get past a few gates to get there, but being able to get that permission from yourself to step back from what's making you feel anxious. So the first thing, of course, is always pinpointing that anxiety. Why is it there? Why is it happening? If it can't be pinpointed, it is what it is. But you've still diagnosed it yourself. It's anxiety. You're anxious. And then from where you go then is really up to you. So my go-to is breath. Hence me wanting to discuss this a little bit today. So when it does come to breath, you can use it in a few different ways. So you can use it to count your breaths. So you can count how long you're breathing. And then that gives your mind an outlet. Instead of just turning on a television or surfing the web or going on social media or whatever it is that you may do instead to try to distract yourself. Breathing will distract the mind, but also help the body at the same time. Not just to distract it and then have it come back again, but to actually eliminate it or lessen it. So, as we lay here, I'd like you to come up with some type of mantra, some type of intention for today's class. So if anxiety is something that you struggle from or struggle with, maybe coming up with some type of short saying. Could be something as simple as, I am aware when I am anxious. Or it could be, I have anxiety, but I can breathe through it. It could be something entirely different if this does not end up hitting home for you. So anything you may be working on, anything that you want to set as your goal for this class and for this day, just please go ahead and set that in your mind. And anytime you feel your mind wandering to thoughts that aren't about this class, that aren't about this particular moment or subject, that you can just come back to that intention and be able to say, oh yeah, that's what I was focusing on. So coming into that intention, really letting it set into your mind, let yourself see the words. And then we're going to make some small movements. So wiggle the toes and fingers, move your ankles and your wrists, and make those movements as big as you'd like or as small as you'd like. They can be a lot of movement, that could be very few. But again, moving the arms maybe, swishing the legs back and forth. Whatever feels good to you right now, go ahead and do that. Now, from where we're seated or laying down on our mat, we're just going to take some gentle stretches here to start. So those of you on the mat, if you don't mind sitting up, please. And you can bring the soles of your feet together or sit with your knees as crisscross applesauce with your knees out and your feet touching or ankles crossed. Whichever works best for you. Those of you who are in a chair, you can still stay in that seated, relaxed position with your back against it. So from what we're going to use here, we're going to go ahead and do some neck stretches, because a lot of the tension that we hold and a lot of the anxiety that we hold ends up being in the neck and in the shoulders. So trying to get that to release, as well as getting a little bit into the chest. Just because, again, that's where we store everything. Because if you think about someone who is anxious, a lot of the times you see them slumped over. They might be super rigid, that they feel like they can't bend, they can't move, that they're frozen. But a lot of times when you see someone who is anxious or who is dealing with something difficult mentally, you'll see them kind of slumped over. Or their shoulders will be up toward their ears, almost like they're trying to hide inside their shirt or inside their own body. So releasing any of that tension is what we're going to try to do. So whether you are a shoulder clencher up to your ears, or your habit is clenching your jaw maybe, it may be that you're holding just that tension in your shoulders and your neck, that you're standing like a tin soldier at all times, or sitting with a very straight, very rigid posture. So let's release some of that. So working with the shoulders first, let's intentionally bring our shoulders up towards our ears. So I'm going to do it on an inhale because we're going to go with these breaths. So our exhale is going to release our shoulders back down. So let's take an inhale, scrunch your shoulders up toward your ears as far as you can. Take that inhale. And when you're ready to exhale, just drop them down as heavy as you can and within reason. Let's take another one. Inhale through the nose, raise the shoulders up, make it almost uncomfortable. Then exhale and let them go. One more of those. Inhale, bring the shoulders up to the ears. Exhale, just let them fall back down. From here, let's move some shoulders around. So we're going to move one shoulder in one direction and one in the other. So one shoulder is going to go forward while one goes back, and vice versa. So you can keep your elbows going with it. And once you've gone in one direction with those shoulders, swap directions. So when you feel ready, go opposite. So you'll feel this into your chest, into your shoulders, just building a little bit of momentum, a little bit of movement there. And you may feel some good crackles and pops in the shoulders and in the spine. Go ahead and, as your feet are planted, just move your torso from side to side here. Just give yourself a little swish. Getting into that lower back where we may hold some tension as well. And then eventually coming back to stillness. So once we're still again here, we're going to roll our shoulders both in the same direction this time. So let's go ahead and bring them up toward our ears first. Roll your shoulders, both of them, onto your back. Let your elbows even come back a little bit if you can. Let your shoulders come all the way down, all the way forward. So again, using those arms and the elbows. Doing 2 more in that direction, bringing the shoulders up and back. And then swapping directions. Same rules apply. Let the arms move as well with the shoulders as they are attached. So not letting them hinder your actual stretching. Then when you feel ready, coming back into that stillness. Let's just shake the head yes. Shake the head no. We're going to tip our left ear to our left shoulder. Let the head drop back. Right ear to right shoulder. Let the head drop forward. Same thing 2 times. And then rolling the neck in the opposite direction here. 3 of those coming our way. Beautiful. Coming back into center, into stillness, maybe keeping the eyes closed if you please. And now that we've worked into that a little bit here, coming into the chest. And again, if you've taken class with me before, this may look a little bit familiar. So what we're going to do is we're going to make goalpost arms here. So we're going to bring our arms out to our sides here, palms facing forward. And our elbows are just a little bit higher than our rib cages. So just finding that particular spot. And our hands are right in line with our ears if we look from side to side. So from here, what we're going to do is we're going to open and close the chest. So by opening it, what we're going to do is we're going to arch our spine just a little bit, bring our heart up toward the sky, bring our gaze slightly up, and let our shoulder blades come together behind us. So as we move our arms back, you'll feel your shoulder blades moving as well. So almost like you're trying to pinch a pencil in between your shoulder blades and have it stay. So coming into that and being cognizant of any issues that you may have with shoulders or with your back, to just, again, take it easy if you need to do that, or to forego this particular activity if you have shoulder issues. Then we're just going to close our arms back together. So super gentle, really regulated by your own body. And you can bring your palms to touch in front of you. We'll inhale and let's open our chest. Exhale as we close the arms and close the chest. Inhale and open. Exhale and close. Inhale and open. Exhale and close. And from where we are here, let's just let our hands come down to heart center here. So our palms are touching, our hands are coming down to our heart. And then just release them by your sides. So you can let your arms hang. Those of you who are seated, you can let your arms lay on your lap with your palms facing up or down. But those of you who are in your chair, just let your arms hang by your sides, with your palms facing forward. While standing, this pose is called mountain pose. So really grounding into your seat. And I'd ask all of you to just please sit ahead on your chair just a little bit, just so you are using your actual posture here. So sitting up nice and tall, growing through the top of the head, feel yourself being lifted up, let your chest, your shoulders, all of that mechanism is just being lifted a little bit, just by simply correcting our posture. And again, you may not have noticed, but your shoulders may have creeped back up toward your ears a little bit, so go ahead and roll them back and let them sit onto your shoulders a lot more easily, and sit onto your body a lot more easily, I should say. So our chest may be slightly puffed out here. Our eyes can be closed or our gaze can be at the floor. We're going to sweep our arms out and up over top of the head. So just bring your palms that they're facing the ceiling and let your arms just come all the way up in a big circle to the top. Exhale. Let them come back down, mountain pose. Let the whole length of your inhale be how you're bringing the arms up and down. Those of you on the floor can do the same. Inhale and bring your arms up. Let the palms touch, and on your exhale, let them come back down. So inhale and grow long. Bring the arms all the way up tall. Exhale, and let the arms come down to our sides. So a little lesson in breath there, as you saw. What we're doing is we're growing on our inhales and we're lessening on our exhales. So we're kind of going to move with that particular breath in mind for the rest of class. So whenever we go into a pose, when I say to sink into it or to go into the pose or whatever my verbiage may be, when it means to relax into it and to take that pose to be your own, you want to really use those exhales to your advantage. So as you're using those particular exhales, you're letting yourself deepen the stretch, so you're sinking more into that particular pose. Whereas if you were taking an inhale instead of that exhale, you might be rising out of it. So inhales, just thinking of the belly even helps to remember this. Your belly inflates, it gets bigger as you breathe in. As you breathe out, the belly relaxes and the belly button comes in toward the spine. So using almost that as a visual too, that we grow when we breathe in and we contract when we exhale. So what we're going to do is we're going to grow a little bit on our inhales and we're going to relax back into it on our exhales. So for what we're going to do now, we're going to do a version of child's pose. Those of you who are on a mat, you won't be able to see me if I get down on the ground too far. But what you'll be doing is come on to all fours if you can do so, please. Trying to see if you'll be able to see me if I come down to my mat here, because I am at a weird angle in this room right now. So what we're going to do is come on to all fours if you can see me here at all. And I'll try to come sideways for you as well. Sorry for the noise of the wheelie chair. But what we're going to do is we're going to bring our knees about as wide as our mat, let our big toes come together. Sit back onto those heels, and then just walk your hands out in front of you. Bring your forehead to the ground. That's ultimately what we're going to do for our child's pose if you are on a mat. So feel free to do that and just simply relax your forehead where your third eye is said to be, into the ground, into the mat, so you can just fully relax your head. All right, guys. So those of us in chairs, we're going to sit that little bit forward here so you can see I'm just giving myself that little bit of space behind my back of my chair and myself. And I'm planting my feet right underneath of my knees. So our ankles are right underneath of our knees and our feet are even with each other, just as wide as our hips. Okay. We're going to heel toe our feet out twice. So just go ahead and bring your toes out, your heels out, toes out, heels out. So we're just a little bit wider than our hips now with our feet. So we want that little bit of space there because we're going to attempt to fold down into those legs and let our head hang heavy. So what we're going to start off with, because there are baby steps to take to this, so you can stop at whichever level is feeling the most comfortable or where your edge is at with this pose. So feel free to stay wherever you're most comfortable here. But what we're going to do is we're going to bring our fingers, our L-shaped fingers, so pointer finger and thumb, right at our hip crease. So right where you know when you bend where that crease is. So it's usually right near your hip bones, if not just a tad lower. So just bring your fingers right to that spot if you are in a chair to help yourself fold forward. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that inhale first and grow tall. Exhale and let yourself fold forward. So you can see, again, my bottom is staying exactly as it is. I'm not moving my bottom half of my body at all. I'm just simply tipping my chest down. So once you get any bit down toward the legs, here are your options. You can bring your arms down and just simply stack them. You can see I still have that length in my spine all the way from my tailbone up through the top of my head. So that's an option. You can stay here with arms as they are and just let yourself kind of collapse into it. And I have a lot of hair, so that'll allow some weight to come down toward the earth when I do so. So yours might look a little bit different than where mine is, because I have a pretty extreme size weight on my head with my hair. But again, you can let the head hang heavy, chin kind of come in toward the chest. And if you are tucking your chin, I'd advise just keeping a small opening in the mouth, not so much that we're drooling or doing anything strange, but just to keep yourself from clenching your jaw. If you feel you can go further than this, again, staying mindful of where we are on our seat and our chair, but you can just let the arms hang, and you can let your chest be the stopping point at your legs. So you can tell here my seat's still the same. I'm not popping off of my seat. I'm just simply not using my arms. My fingertips can come to the ground here if I do choose. So where we're at here would be that we are folded over, and my chest, my ribs are almost in between my knees and my thighs. So you can kind of wiggle your way in and then let your head hang heavy. So you have that option as well. And then otherwise, and you can see, I'm pretty sure you can see it on the camera at least, that my hands are planted on the ground here, and I'll even move back just so I'm sure you can all see me. So you can see my hands are touching the ground in this one. So from here, I have some support. I can still let go of the head, or we can let go of the hands too. Let our arms just float wherever they float and let the head hang heavy. So find whichever version of this pose you like. Feel free to make it your own. And those of you on the mats, just simply finding yourselves sinking more deeply in on your exhales. Those of you who have now gotten into your pose in your chair and you know where your version of it is, what we're going to ultimately do is we're going to take little inhales and exhales and just grow them a little more as we move. So again, inhales are going to help us rise, exhales are going to help us fall. So as we inhale, slightly rise out of whichever pose you're in. So inhale and rise slightly. Exhale and go a little bit deeper. Inhale to rise. Exhale to deepen. One more time. Inhale to rise. Exhale to deepen. Hang here for a moment. And just as we did as we were seated upward here, let's shake the head yes and no. Let gravity help you. Move your neck in little circles, maybe just nod it, twist it from side to side, make any movements that feel good. And the purpose of this particular pose it's because it's an inversion. So you can stay exactly as you are, just for talking purposes. I'm going to sit up. But as far as being inverted, what that means is, again, bringing your head below your heart. So if you feel dizzy at any time, feel free to slowly sit up and sit your back against the chair. Maybe again, catch some water if you have some water near you. But again, just slowly coming out of the pose when we do is definitely a good prerequisite to know about. So we're going to hang here for about 3 more breaths. So take those and use them to be your own. So inhale and slightly rise out of the pose. Exhale and sink in. Inhale to rise out. Exhale to sink in. And one last time. Inhale to rise out. Exhale to sink in. Pause for a moment And when whatever step you are of this particular pose, so if your hands are on the ground, let them be your way to kind of walk your fingertips up your body to come up to seated, or whatever the case may be, just slowly bringing yourselves up. Take a moment to breathe once you are up here. As what we did, it was recirculating the blood in the body, because ultimately the blood that's coming from our chest, from our heart beating, from our heart pumping, a lot of that more is going toward the head once it is upside down below the heart. So that's where you may feel lightheaded. You may feel those differences. So there is definitely a reason for it. And again, just be cognizant of it though, please. Again, if you do get too dizzy, just feel free to sit any of those out or take a shorter amount of time in them. I promise that is perfectly fine. All right, so now that we're seated, we're gaining back some energy here. Let's go ahead and come out of our child's pose if we're on the mat. So feel free to come back onto all fours and find a comfortable seated position once again. And once you're there, those of us in chairs, we're going to go ahead and sit away from the back if we're away from it still. And just sit ourselves forward enough that our legs can extend off the chair. So we're not going to tip it forward. We're not going to risk that. We're actually going to, in this part, leave our hands back behind us for a little portion of it. But what I want us to do for right now is extend the legs. So if you can see how I'm extending them, I just have my heels rested on the ground here. And my feet are about hip width distance. My toenail side of my toes is coming back toward my face, so that means I'm flexing my feet almost like I'm standing on a wall to the side of me. So I'm using my hands here on the back of the chair just as more leverage and also to open the chest. So you can see right here I'm kind of caving in. When I open up the chest, my shoulder blades come back and almost touch each other. So that's what opens the chest there, is really bringing those arms back, shoulders back, and almost letting your shoulder blades touch. So that opens up everything in the front half of the body. Now from here, we're just going to simply lift one leg at a time. So let's inhale, lift the left leg up, hold it there, and release. Inhale, right leg rises. Exhale, release. Inhale and left leg rises. Release it down. Inhale, right leg rises. Put it down. Inhale, left leg. Put it down. Last one. Inhale, right leg rises. Place it down. So having that little bit of extra stretch in the hips and the legs there, you can put that bend back into the knees. And we're just going to get into the hips for just a brief moment. So coming into our hips, those of you who are on the ground, if you can please just lay down with your feet on the ground with your knees bent, that would be excellent. Otherwise, what we're going to end up doing, and for those of you in chairs, is sitting back into our chair. So again, relaxing into it. And we're going to come into figure 4 pose, which is one that I like to do often because it's accessible on the floor and it's accessible in a chair very easily. So the closer your ankle is toward your body, the more intense the pose is going to be. So we're going to keep our right foot planted and cross our left ankle over our right knee. So you can see my knee is floating pretty high off of my leg. I have fairly tight hips at the moment. So again, it may look different for every single person's body. And the more this knee is up toward your chest, the less intense it's going to be. So just know if it is too much to just have it hanging out there, feel free to bring that left hand underneath the knee and just hug it a little bit closer toward your heart. So finding that particular version of your pose here with the left ankle crossing over the right knee. This left foot is going to be flexed, so it's almost like we're standing on the wall to the side of us. So ultimately, we want to just get a little bit into the hips. So you'll feel it more in your inner hip, a little bit in your outer hip here, and your thigh on the left side. So just feel free to find this posture. And then what I'm going to ask of you here is just to simply fold forward the same way we did before. So we're sitting a tiny bit away from the back of the chair, possibly just because of the way that we are moving the legs. I know that just automatically moved my own back away from the chair. So just know that that's fine. And we're just going to find that same fold. So this time we have a foot on the ground as a good anchor. So you don't have to worry as much about tipping, but still be mindful. Again, just coming forward with the chest. So we're not going to go very far because you'll feel the intensity of the stretch as we do it. So leaning forward just a little bit here. Let those elbows come back so our chest is open. Let an inhale let you slightly rise out. Exhale and come back down toward that leg. Inhale to rise. Exhale to fall. Inhale to rise. Exhale to fall. Hold it here. Take a deep breath in and out. On your next inhale, sit yourself back up. From here, we're going to uncross the left ankle, move out your feet or pedal out your feet, move your ankles, do whatever you need to do to help shake that out of there for yourself. And then same thing on the opposite side. Let's go ahead and cross the right ankle over the left knee this time. So same rules apply on this side. I won't bore you with them twice. Again, you most likely are seated a little bit further away from the back of your chair. And again, those of you on the ground can be really relaxed into this particular pose, just laying your back on the ground. So we're flexing those toes on our right foot, like we're standing on the wall. And again, we're just keeping our knee as comfortable as it can be here. So again, if that means moving your knee more close to your body, that is perfectly fine, and use that right hand to help brace it. Otherwise, just let it hang out here. And we're going to do that little bit of a fold again. So we're just going to lean our chest forward, lean our heart down toward that shin or calf, whatever we would like to call it here. Let your shoulders zip back onto your back here. Let your elbows come back a little bit. Take an inhale to bring yourself out. Exhale and fold in. Inhale to rise. Exhale to fall. One last one. Inhale to rise. Exhale to fall. Next inhale brings us all the way up to seated. Uncross that leg. Pedal out the feet. Do whatever you may need to do in this moment. And then we're going to come into our final resting pose of our class, which is in yoga called Shavasana. So what we're going to do is sit back into the back of our chairs if we're not there already. If you're on your mat, lay down in any fashion that you wish. Just get into a comfortable position, and we're going to take one last stressed breath. And what I mean by stressed breath is, what do we do when we're mad? What do children do when they get frustrated and they don't know how to express something other than just to become a little red ball of anger? Again, we can scrunch everything up. So what we're going to do is we're going to purposely make tension. So do the opposite of everything I've said so far. So we're going to clench our fists. We're going to clench our jaw. We're going to close our eyes way too tightly. We're going to scrunch our shoulders up toward our ears, wrap our arms into our chest here. Just create as much tension as you can. Once you're into this little scrunch up, uncomfortable ball, take an inhale here. On your exhale, release all of it. So you could let the arms hang, let the chin come down a little bit toward the chest even. Because now that we know what tension feels like, we know how to release that tension. So finding wherever you are in that position, if just having your hands hang and your arms hang by your sides is fine, feel free to keep that. Otherwise, you can rest your hands on your lap or by your sides if you're on the ground. And simply coming back into our natural breath. So no longer controlling it, no longer counting it, just knowing that it is there if we do need it. And just using these few moments of stillness, of quiet, but being in this relaxed state, knowing our breath is there if we need to use it, knowing that we have the ability to calm ourselves down, to recognize when we're anxious and when we're not. So we can just survive a little bit better, right? And almost accepting right now, and again, saying this in your own mind or out loud. I can't hear you because I am recording. But what I would like for you to say either in your mind or out loud, you can say something along the lines of, I am anxious, but I'm okay. You can say something along the lines of, I'm anxious, but I can use my breath to help, or that my breath helps me, or just simply that you can conquer any situation when you know what to use as a tool. And slowly, again, with our eyes still closed or with the gaze at the floor, make those little movements by wiggling your fingers and toes. Move your wrists and ankles. Stretch your arms up high over top of your head and come into a big, long stretch. And then let go of those arms. Let them fall by your sides. Let's inhale one last time and sweep our arms above the head. Let your palms come to touch a head above you. Bring your hands down to heart center, which is right at your chest. And let your knuckles of your thumbs just press into your sternum there. I thank you all very much for practicing with me. And we're going to end again either out loud by saying it or in your own mind. The word that means the light in me sees and honors the light in you, and that we are all one, which is namaste. So again, I thank you all for sharing your practice with each other, for again, entertaining any thoughts that I've had in the past 40 minutes or so. And I hope you all have a great rest of your week. Namaste. So thank you, everyone. If you should have any questions, please feel free to forward them to Sarah, and she will get them to me, I'm sure. Otherwise, thank you all for your time once more, and I will see you again next week.